Hi, I'm Alice Bast, President and CEO of the National Foundation for Celiac Awareness, where as part of our mission, we advance celiac disease research and give hope to our community. A strict 100% gluten-free diet is the only treatment currently known to be effective for celiac disease, a genetic autoimmune disease triggered by the protein gluten. Unfortunately, the gluten-free diet is not perfect. Completely eliminating gluten is virtually impossible since it's found in so many foods. Less than a crumb of gluten-containing food can cause an immune reaction, which makes dining outside the home very difficult. Many people with celiac disease never completely heal their small intestine and continue to experience symptoms. Because celiac disease is on the rise, it's important that researchers look at new ways to treat this common condition.
Well, several therapies are in development across the world. In the United States, I know of at least 3 major clinical trials in progress with more on the way. Some of the research, both in the United States and abroad, is focused on breastfeeding practices and the timing of introduction of foods that contain gluten into infant feeding. These studies would suggest that introducing gluten between the 4th and the 7th month while breastfeeding appears to delay or lessen the risk of the subsequent development of celiac disease. While other trials are using peptidases to pre-digest gluten before it reaches the small intestine and therefore prevent its absorption. And the third method focuses on tightening the junctions between intestinal cells where most of the gluten is absorbed, which would also limit absorption. Finally, immunotherapy attempts to reprogram the cells that cause celiac disease and therefore prevent the autoimmune response in people with the HLA-DQ gene.
Some of the clinical trials are focused on adult patients who continue to have symptoms despite following a gluten-free diet, while others are focused on genetically at-risk individuals. The therapies focused on pre-digesting gluten molecules or preventing intestinal permeability are intended to supplement the gluten-free diet. If these therapies were to come to market, the gluten-free diet would still be necessary, but patients would have a safety net in case of exposure to gluten.
One of the immune approaches to therapy uses a vaccine to desensitize the body to the toxic peptides that have been identified in the gluten protein. This therapy is focused solely on those who carry the HLA-DQ2 gene, and if successful, would enable those with celiac disease who are DQ2 positive to eventually return to a normal gluten-containing diet. This approach is similar to the allergy shots, which work to prevent an immune reaction from occurring in the first place.
70% of those with celiac disease remain exposed to gluten despite following a lifelong gluten-free diet, resulting in elevated antibody levels that put their long-term health at risk. While the therapies we've outlined are each at different stages in the clinical trial process, there are promising developments for those with celiac disease. Patient participation in scientific research is essential to helping these and other drugs complete their clinical trial processes. Steps needed for new therapies to be approved by the FDA. Getting a proper diagnosis is the first step to participating in clinical trials.